has arrived. The meeting shall begin. First order of business for the planning and zoning this week is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We almost missed the beginning because we were talking to the audience. Tonight, the first item on is, as always, the approval of the minutes. Any deletions or additions? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Tonight we have, it's a combined item on a public hearing. This is a county-initiated request to redesignate two conservation properties. The first property is property known as Jones Pier, located south on Jungle Trail. The second property is the property that's located along the Sebastian River, approximately a mile north of CR 512, previously known as the Russell Grove River Buffer, now known as Cypress Bend Community Preserve. Stephen. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Much better.
This evening we have a county-initiated request that involves two properties. The first one is a 16.22 acres, and it's to change the land use from L1 to C1 and to rezone that same 16.22 acres from A1 to CON1. And the second property is a 47.25 acre parcel, and the land use is C2 and C3. It has both land uses on the same property. And it's to change that to a C1 and rezone that same 47.25 acres from A1 CON2 to CON1. Before we go into each property, I want to go through a quick review of the comprehensive plan and comprehensive plan amendment process. Comprehensive plan is required by state law and must be approved by the state. In Indian River County's plan was approved in 1990 and substantially revised in 1998. Under state law, amendments to the comprehensive plan can only be done twice a year, and that's in January and July. That's when the applications can be submitted. And this amendment application was submitted during the January 2009 window. Comprehensive plan amendment process starts with an application in the Community Development Department. From there, it has the first public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's the stage we're at tonight. From here, it would be transmitted to the Board of County Commissioners. If they approve it, it will be transmitted to Department of Community Affairs in Tallahassee and other state agencies. Within 60 days, the DCA will transmit an objection, recommendation, and comment report back to the county. And at that point, a third public hearing is held. And if adopted, the amendment is returned to DCA for compliance review. Subject property 1, shown here in yellow, is surrounded by the municipality of Indian River Shores, and it's located approximately 2 miles south of County Road 510 after it crosses the Wambasso Bridge. I would specifically note that there is a yellow property there just south of the subject property. That is not included in this, but both of them are within the unincorporated county. This aerial provides a real good overview of this site. I have it outlined here in yellow. You'll see the land use around this property is predominantly single-family residences, and currently existing on the site is a historic residence located along the Indian Lagoon there. And right in the middle of this site is a large area of native habitat that still exists. It was never plowed under or developed. Currently, the site is a palm tree farm. And for subject property 2, it's a, like I said, a 47.25 acre parcel. And it is located approximately a mile from County Road 512, which is also a Roseland Road. The aerial here, outlined in yellow, shows the current use is a citrus grove on the east portion of the land, and the west portion is still predominantly freshwater upland areas. And the land to the north is the Cub Scouts little campground area, and then predominantly to the south and east is single-family residences, and to the west is other conservation land. The entrance to this land is right here in the northeast corner, and then right over here you see that part of the south prong of the St. Sebastian River is actually within this boundaries of this property. Concurrency was reviewed for this site, and as with all comp plan amendments, for public facilities, compatibility with surrounding areas, and potential impact on environmental quality. And since this property is going to be redesignated to zero density, there is no impact on the facilities. One of the most important things to look at in a comprehensive plan amendment is land use policy 14.3, which requires that one of 4 criteria be met to approve a comp plan amendment. In this case, number 3 is substantial change in circumstances fits this category. At this time, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve the proposed future land use amendment for transmittal to the Department of Community Affairs for review. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Ladies and gentlemen, does anybody have a question of staff about either of these properties? It's been in the works
I just
a
have
while.
one question, just ignorance of not being on the committee. Compatibility with surrounding areas, and there's a statement saying except for minor facilities associated with passive recreation activities. What type of things would that be?
Good evening. I'm Bob Keating, County Community Development Director. It could be parking areas, minor parking areas, kiosks. There could be just some limited structures there, but it would be all related to the conservation designation and related to public access to the conservation areas.
Thank you, Bob.
Would that be like a canoe launch, Bob?
Yeah, actually,
It's not a dirt bike area, that's for sure.
we are working to open up what's now called the Cypress Bend property, and there will be a canoe launch there. That is kind of a bluff area. There's it needs some work before it's actually usable as a canoe launch, but that is the thinking in the future.
Any other questions?
Is that still an operating grove? I mean, is it still functional?
No.
We are not maintaining it.
No, they haven't. They've abandoned it.
And the intent will be someday to transition that into some kind of native habitat.
Okay, since our goal normally is to take the trees down because of the
disease, potential for disease.
Spreading the disease. Are we going to take those trees down?
We're looking at it, yes.
In what kind of a time frame?
They're dancing around it like every other abandoned grove owner I know.
Okay.
The main thing is that the trees, that from our standpoint for pests, that they die, but from an appearance standpoint, it'd probably be nice for them to be gone because dead citrus trees are kind of ugly. For those of us in the business, anyway. For the birds, they're not. Right?
I'm just thinking the neighbors who live in that area may
David
not
had a
want to be
comment.
looking at
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, David.
a sandlot.
Yeah, just for clarification, the St. Sebastian River does run through the Cypress Bend. Is that what we're calling Russell Grove now? It runs through this property. Does this redesignation, does this action have any effect at all on
It goes next to it. It doesn't go
St.
through.
Sebastian River proper? That it flows through, it is not part of this property.
That's correct.
Right.
So,
Well, David, we're taking all the trees out and have an erosion problem with the river.
the trees are pretty
They're
far back,
far back.
from the bluff, so I don't think so, but you're trading one, I mean, the problems that would be associated with the citrus standing in place are one set of problems. You're trading them for another set if you remove them.
Right.
And you don't have many enough to go in and do any real restoration.
Right. Jim?
I'm chairman of the Conservation Lands Advisory Committee, and we are working on this and trying to devise the most economical way to probably remove the trees without disturbing the ground right away, because we don't have the funds to do it. So it may be that we come in and clip them off.
Leave it
Even the fruit, they haven't been taken care of, but it's got really good fruit on it. I really hate to say that, but it's really sweet. But so it is in the, we are reviewing it at CLAC, and that probably will be moving ahead, you know, I would think in the sometime, hopefully this year. But
thank you.
that.
Will we be invited to the next Clack Juice Fest?
Well, I think actually there's a group of people that live in the area who informally adopted it and are working with the Conservation Lands manager, and they've done a really good job on killing the peppers and other exotics, and I think they're partaking of the fruit. Good. And that will probably become a formal adoption this year as well, where the group will formally adopt it, which is a good thing. It'll help defray expenses for the county.
Thank you. Any other comments for staff? This is a public hearing. The public hearing is now open. Would anybody in the vast public sitting before us care to speak?
Excuse me.
If not, we'll close the public hearing. Ladies or gentlemen, we need a motion.
I'll move staff recommendation.
Dr. Cox moves approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Tripson, second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, do not come back. It's unanimous. Okay. Planning matters, or commissioner matters? Nope, none. Planning matters. Planning does matter.
Yes, just a few things, Mr. Chairman. We don't really apologize for short meetings. They could be a nice thing, but we have tried to consolidate, and it just hasn't worked out yet to have multiple items on one meeting. But I think your next meeting will be different. We have 2 land development regulation amendments you'll be looking at. Those have been advertised. We think we'll have 2, 3 current development projects. And, of course, Mr. Moore is scheduled to come. So I think it should be a fairly full meeting.
He's resting up on his vacation to get ready for us. Is that right?
You might get him fresh. The other item that you may be interested in is that yesterday the application or revised application for the Wild Turkey mining project came in, and it's scheduled for technical review committee on April 22nd. And hydrology report and environmental reports all came in, and that's already been sent.
What would you anticipate our schedule to be there?
It's hard to say. I really wouldn't at this point. But eventually it'll wind up in front of you all, so I thought you might want to know.
All right. I have a question. Can I ask about this?
About wild turkey?
About wild turkey.
If it's fairly general, we really don't want to get into any details because we don't know. It's not before us, really. He's just telling us this process has begun.
With the regulations that were adopted, wasn't one that the permit, before it moved into the county's arena, that the St. John's permit had to be?
No, and it is one that's not the way that the ordinance came about, but one of the confusing things when you workshop something for a year, there's so many versions and different things that were discussed. That was an option that was discussed, but it did not.
The final version did not.
Okay.
Right. And I think what came about instead of that was the provision where the applicant deposits money with the county, and that money is used to pay for an outside consultant hired by the county working for the county, and that's the case. The county has authorized Camp Dresser McKee to review the hydrology reports, and they actually have already started on the hydrology report that we got in yesterday. So in lieu of that, of course, they're going through the St. John's requirements as well, but that was the alternative that wound up being adopted.
It might be noted, and correct me if I'm wrong, but any of us are welcome at the TRC Technical Review Committee meetings if you have the desire to walk through the process at the other levels and hear more detail, because a lot of times it's very detailed. I would invite all of you all to do that if you'd like to do that.
Some of us maybe we love you guys and everything. I just want to make sure with the attorney, if you had more than.
Oh, wait a minute. How many before we have to turn the lights out?
Right.
I mean, open the doors or something, whatever it is.
Just, be careful that you don't talk to any of your other commissioners. Remember that your decision, it's okay to get some background information, but your decision needs to be based on what is presented before you.
Oh, okay. I stand sort of corrected. That's about normal.
Sounds like fun.
Just a reminder, though, it is like other types of applications, it is quasi-judicial applications, so ex parte
No
communication and so
conversation,
forth,
et
you
cetera.
need to be careful about.
A lot of swearing in. Okay, anything else?
That's all that I had.
George, anything?
Nothing tonight.
Attorney? Okay, well, we stand adjourned then. We'll see you in 2 weeks.